How's it going, everybody? Happy holidays and welcome to FoundFlix. On this Eating Explained, we're looking at the seasonally appropriate Black Christmas from 2006. In this remake, the holiday season turns deadly for a group of sorority sisters who are stranded at their campus house during a snowstorm. They better watch out, for a vicious killer's on the loose, and he doesn't care if they are naughty or nice. Of course, the original Black Christmas is one of the most seminal slashers of all time, and any attempt at a modern reboot would prove difficult. It's funny because I originally hated the 2006 version, that is until the Blumhouse abomination came out in 2019. After that, I was like, this one is actually not so bad after all, and way better than the 2019 one. It's of course drastically different from the original. It has a lot more bloodshed and gore than the tame and more psychological thriller style from '74. Another novelty here is the cast. It's like a who's who of horror actresses of the time. I also really enjoy that it adds a lot more to the killer Billy's backstory this time out, and it also includes some incredibly over-the-top and shocking moments that make this much more memorable. So let's check out Black Christmas, breaking down the story, including everything we learn about the killers, as well as explaining the ending. On the cusp of winter break, sorority gal pals are on the verge of heading out for the holidays, yet the storm raging outside could cause some issues. Claire is in her room wrapping a present to her sister, and also noticing a snow globe from a secret Santa. She starts writing a note to her sister Lee, and stops, hearing rustling coming from the closet. She opens the doors to clothes wavering inside, but just caused by a floor vent blowing them around. She returns to her wrapping and tries to find the right words to say. Out of nowhere, a plastic bag is put over her and she is stabbed in the head with her own pen. Ouch! Well, we see there's already a killer on the loose, but they're not the only one, as it turns out. Down at the local psychiatric hospital, they're celebrating the holidays too. A guard doles out food for the patients, not noticing when a milk carton drops off and happens to keep the door propped open. Distracted by some guy who thinks he's Jesus, the guard gets startled when a Santa appears down the hall. He explains that the door was open and he was just trying to find the children's ward. The other guard warns this is no place for Santa Claus, and he spots a familiar name on the door, Billy Lenz. He knows all about the guy. He's the one who killed his family at Christmas back when he was a kid. Santa is confused, as most people believe that he is dead. Guess not. The guard encourages him to poke his head and find out if he's been naughty or nice. Now that he knows it's Billy, Santa is disturbed seeing there's only a padlock keeping him inside. He's told that's just for Billy's sake, as he was locked in the attic his entire life. That's the key. They're doing their best to make this feel like home, as he apparently tries to escape every year at Christmas time to return to his childhood house. They even make Billy his own special meal, the guard groaning this is the closest they can get to how his mommy made it. Billy reaches out yellow tinted hands and hungrily chows down. Out in front of the house, Kelly is trying to say goodbye to her boyfriend Kyle, but he's being a bit overbearing, not wanting her to leave. She tells him they'll still have plenty of holiday time together, but her sisters are like her family. He grumbles, "I'm your family now," and she gives him a peck on the cheek. Casting suspicions already on Kyle, he gets a mysterious call from someone, panning up to a window, seeing an upset girl there. What are you up to, Kyle? The house mother, Miss Mac, is frantically digging through the pile of presents, and there's an important one missing. Apparently it's a tradition that they leave a gift for Billy each year with the secret Santa. Without there being a present, they can't get started. None of the girls know anything about it, or really seem to care that much in the first place. Miss Mac rallies the troops, demanding to know who is missing from the group. Some have left already, but they remember Claire was still upstairs wrapping stuff. However, another pipes up that her sister already came to pick her up. Supposedly, it's their big opportunity to bury the hatchet and rediscover each other. Dana agrees that she'd like to bury the hatchet with her sister too, right in her head. At the hospital, Billy leaves out a newspaper-wrapped present outside his cell. The guard inspects it and curiously peers into the crack, seeing Billy in a rocking chair along with a string of Christmas lights. He's also been sucking on a candy cane, making the point razor sharp. Deadly candy canes. Merry Christmas. The guard opens the package, finding a note boasting that he will be home for Christmas. "In your dreams, Billy," he growls, and returns to the hole, but Billy isn't there. The guard flings open the door, noticing a hole cut into the wall. He bends down for a closer look, and Billy gives him a surprise candy cane stab from behind. Kelly and Lauren go off to fetch the other girls. There's no answer at Claire's door, and Dana gets more aggressive, pounding on it and telling her to get downstairs in 5 minutes or she's taken all of her presents. The next try Megan's room, who barks back through tears to "fuck Christmas." And we see why she is so upset, watching a sex tape between her and Kyle. Uh-oh. That must have been who called him in the car earlier. Secret affairs. She hears loud footsteps emanating from the attic and notices and see a body sitting in a rocking chair covered in a plastic plastic bag, most certainly Claire's. She attempts to ignore it, but when the dance of the sugar plum starts wafting from somewhere, she follows the sounds. She tracks it to the attic, ascending the ladder up. There she finds the snow globe from Claire's room playing the song. She assumes it must just be a prank, calling out, "Who's messing with me?" Then, amongst a pile of stuff, a shadow begins to rise. Megan rounds a corner, coming to Claire's body, asking what she's doing here. Well, not much, she's dead. The killer gets her with a plastic bag over the head, stabbing her a whole bunch and tears out her eyeball. At the hospital, a nurse gets fresh with Santa, which he is definitely into. He elects to follow after her, smirking that he's checked his list twice and she's very naughty, not noticing Billy slinking by the window. A woman's sounding voice beckons for him to come closer. Santa chuckles. He doesn't like to keep a lady waiting, and it's all a ruse, as it was Billy disguising his voice, who splatters him in an instant. He dons his costume, allowing him to easily sneak out of the facility, tossing the guy's body on the way. Well, Billy is officially free, and we know where he is headed, right back home. Heather wants to get the gifts going, but Miss Mac is insistent that they have to open Billy's first. It's a 15-year tradition. Heather admits that she drew his name, but is weirded out by this whole thing, buying presents for serial killers. She's corrected that he was actually a spree killer, because one day he just totally lost it. Lauren starts going on about the origins of Christmas, that it's actually even more about warding off bad spirits than Halloween. It's all about pagan iconography, like the Christmas tree. As for Santa, he's a fat voyeur who watches you all year long in order for you to live up to his standards before breaking into people's houses. She concludes, how is that so different than what Billy did? Well, Santa doesn't usually kill anyone, first of all, though this moment is also the only remotely clever dialogue in the whole movie. For a fleeting moment, you're like, interesting, then never again. Oh well. Then of course, as we and Miss Mac know, Billy didn't technically break in because this was his home, and we get to see just what led to Billy's breakdown. We jump back to the same house in 1970, also at Christmas. Billy was just born, and the reason for the yellow skin is a rare liver disease. His parents hated each other, and his mother hated Billy. When she looked at him, she could only see her husband. She approaches the boy and plucks off the baby's first Xmas ornament and crushes it in her hand, dropping the bloody fragments in his crib. A few years later, in 1975, little Billy writes a note to Santa, as well as leaving out some cookies. His mom drunkenly asks why he's bothering. Santa ain't coming to see you, telling him that Russians shot his sleigh down. Santa is dead, she coughs. Man, this lady is certainly a lot. His dad is nice, at least, sending him up to his room, telling him there's something there waiting for him. He slides open the closet and goes for a little cubby hole in the wall. There's a present wrapped in newspaper waiting for him. To Billy, love Santa, it reads. He hears his parents arguing downstairs, and things get heated when another gentleman shows up. Billy's dad puts together this piece of shit must be her new boyfriend. He's gonna be my husband, she croaks. He isn't too afraid of the guy, telling him that he was in Vietnam, but he doesn't really stand much of a chance, hearing a loud thud followed by a struggle. Billy crawls out to see the commotion and peeks under the door just in time to see his dad collapse right in front of him. The man puts a bag over his head and hammers him to death, Billy witnessing the whole thing. Well, there's the origins of how he kills people with the bag and everything. The pair get to work furiously burying his body in the crawl space under the house. They stop, hearing Billy scraping in the walls, spotting his yellow skin peeking between the slats. Since he's been made, Billy quickly climbs away up the barriers between the walls up to the attic. They hear him there, and Mom takes the opportunity to lock him up there for good. Back in the present, the girls get a strange phone call. A voice that sounds like the mother says, "You're my cookie, and I could gobble you up." The voice changes to sobbing, asking, "Billy, what have you done? Where's Agnes?" they want to know. And Billy replies, "She's my family now." He then turns to the girls, warning to get out of my house or I'm gonna kill you. They hang up and consider calling the police, but one call wouldn't be enough evidence for them to do too much. They check the caller ID and are shocked to see that the call came from Claire's cell phone. Heather doesn't think that it's wise to provoke someone like that, but Dana argues that she doesn't know anything about the real world. Run back home to your rich NASCAR daddy. Heather spits back, at least her family wants to see her. The others step in, telling them not to quibble. It's Christmas after all. Heather walks off in a huff and bumps into the previously unseen sister Eve. It's weirdly tense for some reason, and Eve awkwardly offers that they're family now, echoing what the killer just said on the phone. She even gifts Heather a newspaper wrapped present just like Billy did. Inside, there's a unicorn statue with an especially pointy horn. Gotta watch out for pointy stuff in this movie. Back in '82, Mom is greasily banging her new beau right on the stairs. He bizarrely falls asleep mid-coitus, leaving her unsatisfied. She hears Billy rocking upstairs, which gives her an idea. Yep, it's going there. She rubs her boy's shoulder suggestively and drops her robe in front of him. Sure enough, 9 months later, she gave birth to little Agnes. Mom actually seems to like her and looks up resolutely to the attic, telling Billy she's my family now. Well, that's where that all came from. It's all the mom. What the hell is her problem? We suspiciously cut right back to Eve, and you're like, Agnes grown up or just a completely ridiculous red herring? Eve begins to leave, and Miss Max stops her to rummage through the pile for her present. Once she finds it, the girl has vanished. The girls joke about her being in such a hurry, not like she has any friends or a boyfriend or anything. Miss Max shuts down the slander. Eve's mom was a legacy here. Don't you forget it. As for Lauren's gift, she's completely content with just another shot of tequila. They know it was Claire that drew her name, and the snow globe was intended for her. Lauren is less than enthused, groaning she's had enough sugar plum fairies. Just then, an unsteady POV starts making its way toward the house. Looks like Billy's home. The gift exchange is interrupted by another demented phone call, this time from Megan's phone. It's not her, but the strange voice growling that she's my family now. Everyone should be with their family for Christmas. And then showing they have been closely monitoring their conversation, they repeat several specific prior quotes from the girls. They know that wasn't Megan and try to call campus security, only getting voicemail. They gather up to check a room and suspiciously find Kyle snooping around in there. Wonder why. He innocently claims that he wanted to see Kelly, so he snuck in through the window. They accuse him of making the call, but then don't think that he could do it either. The voice was more like the devil's. Satan calling. Kyle is apparently not a fan of the girls really, calling them spoiled bitches that come here for a few years and then just leave. He's from here and lived here his whole life. He used to play on this very street before it was turned into frat houses. Even now, he remembered that this house scared the shit out of him when he was a kid. They want to know what happened. Oh, after he washed down his Christmas cookies with a glass of milk? And Kyle presents the final piece to the history of Billy and the night that he snapped her good. In 1991, Billy was gifted a brand new telescope from his mom and stepdad. Well, at least they give him presents every now and then. Doesn't really cancel out locking up in the attic, but still. He paws off the wrapping and takes it to the window. He aims it out to a neighbor nearby, seeing a normal family having a lovely Christmas. Something he knows he will never have. Because your mom gifts Agnes a doll, and she doesn't look too thrilled about it. She hears bounding from above, excitedly asking if it's Santa's reindeers. Mom croaks that there's nothing up there and asks if she wants a Christmas cookie. You're my cookie, and I could gobble you up. The same phrases from the second phone call, yeah. Agnes hears rustling from the tree and sees her father nestled deep on the other side. When Mom is on the phone, he pounces. A voice grumbles that she's my family now. Mom rushes back into the room, finding that Agnes is gone, and her baby doll has had its eyes eerily removed. She runs upstairs to punish Billy, hearing the girl screaming. He's got a bag over her head and proceeds to remove an eye. Stepdad goes on the attack, and he stabs him right through with a pointy statue. Man, gotta be careful with those. They are sharp! Billy turns on his mom, choking her out with a string of Christmas lights. He drags her into the kitchen, walloping her to death with a baking roller. They hone in on a plate of cookies, but no, those are not the ones we're talking about. Billy grabs a cutout and jams it into his mom's back. He carves several pieces of her flesh and sticks them in the oven to cook. Gross! The cops show up later, and one helps the injured Agnes. Another cracks open the door, finding Billy at the table devouring his fleshy cookies. In the aftermath, Billy was declared insane, and they sent him to the sanitarium. They were able to save Agnes, yet she did lose an eye. Even worse for her was having to accept the reality of her situation. Her mother's dead, and her father was a psycho. She was sent to an orphanage and never seen again. Oh man, I always forget how over the top this whole part is, with the flesh cookies and the inbreds and everything. Definitely of the time, that's for sure. Feeling like something more fitting to the Saw movies or other torture porn ilk, a very far cry from those strange psychological thrillers of the original, we can thank the producers for demanding they include all of this madness, but it certainly is memorable at least. The girls don't get why he killed his family, and the story goes that it seemed to him that's just how his family showed love. Well, I guess that kind of makes sense. The wind picks up and the door slams downstairs, sending everyone to investigate. It's Lee, Claire's sister, in search of her, but the girls can't help but not trust her. Meanwhile, Kyle tries to keep Kelly from seeing the computer as he searches for a note or anything from Megan. She tries to call her, only getting voicemail. Behind her, a thumbtack starts to swivel and pops out of the wall, leaving Billy a hole just big enough to peep through. Lee shows off her ID, proving she has nothing to hide, but can't say much more about Claire as they have never been really close. She also used to go to school here and doesn't remember her time fondly. She really hated it. She notices that Billy still gets a present, but is stumped. This is something new for Alpha Kappa from Billy. They're all befuddled as that present wasn't here moments ago. They open it up and inside inside is Agnes's dead-eyed doll. They accuse her of planning it, but she doubles down that she doesn't even really know Claire. They probably even know her better than her. In a strange way, she seemed older to Lee. Claire wanted to mend their relationship while they could. Or can, she corrects, hopefully. She's already dead. Sorry, sis. Heather then discovers a clue in the paper. It's the same as the gift from Eve, and even stranger, they're from back in December 26, 1991, aka the year Billy went postal. They realize that Eve actually lives in Billy's old bedroom and think maybe she's obsessed with him or something. The power fritters out and the screensaver kicks off. Now Kelly can clearly see the intimate tape with Kyle and Megan. He defends that this was before she came here, and he didn't put it on the net. A buddy of his got mad and stole his tapes. Tapes, plural, sounding more and more a little perverty there, Kyle. She scowls that he's a liar. She thought he was different. Heather is digging through Billy's old hole, finding an old box stuffed with the newspaper cutouts regarding the family, along with his dad's old service photo and whatnot. Definitely looking like she was obsessed at least. Things boil over with Kyle and the girls have had enough, pretty much shoving him right out of the house. The killer next turns her sight onto the incapacitated Lauren. She's too preoccupied blowing chunks and doesn't notice him kicking up a tile to have a watch. Melissa gives her a hand, Lauren drunkenly calling her better than her real sister. Melissa says she loves her too, but she stinks, ordering her to take a shower. The others try out the breaker to no effect, and Dana knows the main one is under the house. She refuses to go though, as it is too cold outside, and they argue it'll just take 2 seconds. Lauren gets the water going, and Melissa leaves her a trash can. She moves her foot away, seeing Billy's eye in the hole. She tosses her clothes right on it, and he makes his way to another tile. No way he's missing this show. She's ultimately fine, and Melissa puts her to bed, sighing Merry fucking Christmas on the way out. Dana makes it to the crawl space and opens up the little fence. She gives the area the once over and can see someone's breath. She accuses Eve to come out here, you crazy bitch. A big hand grabs her, pulling her deeper in. She grabs a rake and stabs her attacker, but they return the favor right in the back of the head. Also noticing that Billy's dad's body is starting to become unearthed. Back inside, Lee makes her way to the attic of doom again, hearing the snow globe plunking its tune. Kelly then gets a call, and a voice imitates Dana screaming for help. They then turn to Billy's voice, telling them that she's my family now. They venture outside to find Dana. Kelly trips and they spot bloody fingernail scratches in the crawl space fence. Heather and Lee notice Eve's car is still here, and she appears to be still inside. Is she sleeping or what, they wonder. They open the door and her head rolls right out to everyone's horror. They go to the house phone but find the line is dead. They are able to get through to 911 via cell, but due to the storm, they are majorly backed up. It could take up to 2 hours for them to get out there. With that news, Miss Mac thinks they need to get out of here now. I mean, they'll all be dead in 2 hours. Kelly, on the other hand, thinks that they need to stick together and refuses to leave without the missing others. Lee takes her side. They're safer together, and besides, we're sisters, so they should at least try and act like it. Miss Mac doesn't back down, promising to get the police here as soon as possible, and Heather decides to tag along. Melissa checks in on Lauren, finding her hidden under the covers. She fears the worst, but she's just drunkenly dozing. Mac plies the car door open and tries to grind the engine to life. Heather knocks to let her in and grows increasingly concerned when looking around. The others are pleased to see that they got the car started, yet there is another important step before they can leave: de-icing the windshield. Miss Mac asks Heather to do it, but she doesn't even know what the tool is, let alone how to do some de-icing. Mac heads out, cursing her under her breath as just another spoiled southern princess. The car rattles, and in the freshly carved spot, see Billy's yellow face. There's a splatter of blood on the windshield. Horrified, Mac backs up right into the wall, loosing an icicle that impales her right through her eye. Now that's bad luck. Not sure an icicle could actually do that either necessarily. His sister, on the other hand, is busy terrorizing the girls inside. She gets a jump on Melissa with her signature plastic bag, but she manages to escape her grasp. She runs to her room trying to get the window open. Agnes enters, and Melissa gives her a beat down with a hockey stick. This gives Agnes an idea when Melissa goes back to the window. She grabs an ice skate, launching it at Melissa and cutting her head clean in half. Woo. The other girls try to shove their way out, but are stopped by Mac's body. They run back inside as a shadow passes by the windows. They decide to run upstairs and call Melissa's cell. They hear it ringing overhead, a little light blinking seen through the ceiling above. Things go quiet, and Kyle randomly kicks open the door. Lee backs into Lauren, and her arm falls lifeless. She must have been killed off screen. They try accusing him of committing the murders, but he defends he didn't do it. Plus, the dude isn't yellow, kind of a pretty obvious clue he's not secretly Billy. They call Mel's cell again, hearing it ringing through the floorboards along with more footsteps. They call back, and a man's voice asks, "Where's Agnes? What have you done with Billy?" He gravely states, "They're my family now," and hangs up, now knowing for sure the killer is upstairs, and it sounds like someone else is with him. Kyle wants to leave, but Lee refuses, until she knows her sister is dead. She's alive. They agree as soon as they see her one way or another, they are out of here. They get to the attic, and Kyle heroically and stupidly decides to go first. He counts to 3 and punches the door open, only seeing darkness above. Until moments later, an arm puts a bag over his head and drags him right up, slamming the door. Agnes holds him in place, blocking the girls from getting in. About to stab him with the unicorn statue, he stops her. He crawls away, allowing the girls to get up, but there's no saving Kyle, who gets poked in the head. Agnes punches the others away, sending Lee face to face with Claire's body. She yanks out Kyle's eyeballs, grunting, "He's my family now." Lee freaks out and falls right through the floor. Kelly runs to her side while Agnes gratefully gobbles down the eyeballs. She lights candles in the room, whispering everyone should be home for Christmas. In the light, more and more bodies are exposed, including some being used in a grotesque tree display. "You're my family now," she growls again, and the girls recoil, Lee collapsing right through the floor, tumbling below. Kelly tries to follow after, but Agnes stops her with her favorite head bag. They tussle on the ground, and in the process knock over some candles, starting a fire. She feels around and finds something to stab her, getting free. She grabs tongs and jams it into her eye. Agnes grabs it and yoinks it right out. "They're not your family, Agnes," Kelly growls. "I'm not your family, and your brother's not here." "No, my daddy's here," the killer corrects, and Billy punches through the floor to join the party. Agnes grabs Kelly, wrapping her up in lights. She kicks her in the guts, and she begins to fall. Agnes grabs her, sending her plummeting down along with more stuff attached to the string. Kelly pounds on the wall, shrieking for Lee's help, as Billy crawls from above and Agnes below. Lee pounds at the wall and bashes a hole in it, but whoops, it's the wrong spot. It's Billy reaching out for her. She runs over to the laundry room as the killers get closer and closer. She bashes the right spot this time as a tree in the attic catches on fire. She frantically claws at the wall to get the hole bigger, and all the stuff, including the tree, falls right down the shaft, landing on Billy. Ouch. They pour out a bunch of alcohol to really get the fire going and flee out the front door. Later at the hospital, a reporter fills in the public on recent events. The pair of siblings went on a murderous rampage. The coroner is up to his eyeballs in corpses, and someone on the phone is not too happy he's working on Christmas. He's not happy either, but he needs to ID all the bodies before the morning. Scoffing, the kids will just have to wait. Stupid kids. She hangs up and he complains about not wanting to be here either, and fixes himself a holiday libation. He then hears a zipper on a body bag opening. He unzips Agnes's, seeing her scowling, lifeless inside. Don't forget Billy though. Guess those burns weren't too bad, as he springs to life and leaps right out of the bag. He takes a surgical saw and turns it on the coroner. Elsewhere, the girls are unaware that their assailant survived and curiously discuss the family. How long had Agnes been hiding in the house? Months? Years? Lee shrugs, now they'll never know. She pulls out Claire's present, and well, since she won't be able to open it in front of her sister, but stops getting emotional. Kelly supportively takes her hand, and Lee unwraps it, growing more upset. It's a nice looking watch with an appropriate inscription on the back, "Family Forever." A nurse enters, whisking Kelly away for more x-rays. Elsewhere, always loving climbing through walls, Billy removes a ceiling tile and crawls inside. Soon, Lee can hear him shuffling around to her disbelief. She steps out in the hall and hears another door opening, thinking that it's Kelly. She enters the room to a blonde person in bed, but that ain't Kelly. Lee is confused. Wasn't she getting x-rays? It's Agnes, of course, who grabs her, grunting "forever," and snaps her neck. Later, Kelly is brought back to her room, but the nurse has no idea what happened to Lee. When she leaves, the door gets stuck, her groaning that they were supposed to fix this thing. Kelly discovers something alarming in bed, the back part of the watch with blood encrusted on the engraving. Kelly gets to her feet, and of course the pesky door won't budge. Seems pretty dangerous at a hospital. I don't know, maybe need to get that fixed. What if there was some kind of emergency? Like now, she scans around the room, hearing hissing from the ceiling. Blood begins to pool in the light fixture, and she smacks the emergency alarm. She tries again at the door to no avail, shouting for help. A tile is pulled away, and she eyes the defibrillator. She cranks it to life, waiting impatiently for it to charge up. Agnes pulls back the curtains, reaching for her. She turns the paddles right on her face with full force, sizzling her to a crisp, but there's still Billy to deal with. Kelly takes an IV stand to the window, allowing her to get to the door handle. Billy lands and purposefully follows after her. She surprises him with a crutch beatdown, wishing him a Merry fucking Christmas. She starts to run and gets tripped in the crutch. She scuttles backwards while Billy stalks towards her. She bumps into an orderly's cart, sending it spilling its stuff everywhere. She runs and he catches up to her on the edge of a railing. He takes a scalpel and jams her in the back. She turns and grabs his hand, sending him sailing over the side. He falls and lands right on a Christmas tree, impaling him through, and that's the end of the killer siblings. Man, you really gotta be careful around pointy objects in this movie, because everything is razor sharp apparently. With that, we reached the conclusion of this Ending Explained for Black Christmas. Don't forget, before we go, you can send me requests for any movies or TV shows you'd like to see me explain by sending them my way on any of my social media accounts at FoundFlix. Happy holidays, everyone! What did you think of Black Christmas and its ending? Which version is your least favorite? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you next time.